Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome to another Eternal Contenders video. So today I want to talk about the TJP Midrange deck that Mouche and I played last week at the ETS, and Mouche managed to take to the semifinals. Alright, let's take a look at the deck. Okay, so this is the deck. Brief history on the deck. Our team, Eternal Titans, has been trying to make a TJP style deck around Shelterwing Rider and Stand Together for a while. I have been doing so has Commando, like a couple months ago already, I think. But we didn't really like what we tried and found, so we kind of gave up on it. Other people have been chipping in on it as well, and yeah, we kind of laid it to rest. But recently, partially due to the release of Equivocate, it became a bit more appealing again, because the card provides a lot of flexibility for this type of deck. So that is pretty appealing. So AhornDelfin tried a version that this is based on and has been having good success with it. And the other day he posted it in one of our channels and was like, hey, I've been messing around with this and I like it. And yeah, my main concern was the deck's lack of a power play that the other Justice midrange decks have. Ardenport has Tavrot, the Blade decks have Blade. This deck only has good individual cards but no over-the-top power play on like 4 or 5 that can just sort of win the game on its own or break open a game that is otherwise kind of stalled out. But the deck felt pretty good, and it seemed particularly good in the current metagame, particularly well positioned due to being very Aegis heavy, having a really high quality of individual units, and also being quite resilient against cards like Hailstorm and so on. So when Ahorn just brought it up again after I messed around with it a bit and tuned it further and suggested that why we don't just play that when we were pondering what to play, we're like, yeah, why not? Like, Mouche was immediately on board and I was like, yeah, I could see it. So I just built a sideboard for the main deck that I already had and gave the 90 to Mouche, and as he has been doing the last couple of weeks, just registered my exact 90 and top 8'd once again. Like the last 3 times he just copy-pasted my 90 and top 8'd while I failed to make top 8, either due to bad luck or just lack of focus and sloppy play, or a mix of both. This time it was particular lack of focus because I had a friend over. You might have seen me on stream just passing my turn 3 with a 3-drop in hand, because I completely missed that I'm already out of combat. I was just clicking to deal damage and realized it's already my post-combat main phase, and I just skipped my turn. And yeah, if you make plays like that, you're not gonna top 8 the tournament. But oh well, there's other things that are important too, like hanging out with a friend that you haven't seen in a while that's in town, so that's fine. Anyway, let's talk about the deck. Okay, so deck is pretty straightforward. It's very similar to Argenport or the Plate decks in structure. It's basically a medium-sized proactive Justice midrange deck. It has 8 good 2-drops in Awakened Student and Kothon. So these are like the beginning of the curve. No other 2-drops. Groundwatch Paladin is a bit too weak and situational. It's only good when you're ahead, and a deck like this with 3 factions starting slow and on turn 3, Groundwatch Paladin is a lot worse, and you can't always play your 2-drop on 2, and the deck is also not that good at supporting Groundwatch Paladin. Same goes for Desert Marshal. Card is too reactive, and we already have our reactive and interactive part covered well enough that we don't want a low impact 2-1. Then we have the 3-drops, Pacifier, Siraf, Commando and Enforcer. Siraf overall is a bit better than Record Keeper, I think, simply because she already has Overwhelm, so with Stand she actually gets buffed by Commandos. The other thing is she dodges Vanquish, like most other things. Student eventually is vanquishable, but not early, so it denies them the tempo Vanquish plays early on. And then we have the 4-drops, which are mediocre Vanquish targets. So making, like, while we're not completely blanking Vanquish, it's relevant that your turn 3 play cannot just be vanquished for 2, because that's a strong tempo blow if you just play your first unit on 3 because it didn't have a 2-drop, and then they just get to vanquish it for 1 power cheaper. That can set you back far enough to just lose the game. And that's another upside that Siraf has. And of course there's the ultimate, which, like, ultimate because it's not an actual ultimate, but the activation on 8, which also provides some staying power in late games. It doesn't happen that often, but it happened a bunch of times and I've won games because of it. So it's not nothing to ignore. And I think overall it outweighs the upsides of Auric Record Keeper. But yeah, if you don't have Siraf, feel free to just play Record Keeper until you get the Siraf. The deck is not going to be much worse without Siraf. But overall, if you have the choice, Siraf is the better one. And yeah, Commando and Enforcer, like the Justice 3-drop Dream Team, not much explanation needed. They're just 2 of the main reasons to be in Justice in the first place in unit decks. And then we have for Copperhall Elite and for Sheltering Rider as our resilient 4-drops. And Stand Together also helps keep Shelterwing Rider relevant, which is nice. And since the deck tops at 4 and not at 5 like a bunch of other mid-range decks, we only run 28 power, so 25 and 3 Seek. Yeah, like in Argenport I usually have like 30-ish because we only have so much fixing. And in the plate decks I at least want 29 because we have some more stability there, and plate is not necessary on turn 5, while Tavrod is a lot more important on 5. Like a Tavrod on 6 is a lot worse than on 5, while a plate on 6 is not much worse than on 5 a lot of the time. And in terms of interaction, we have 3 Finest Hour, 2 Accelerated Evolution, 4 Equivocate, 3 Vanquish, and 3 Stand Together. Acceleration is something that I added after a while, because I've been at the time that Ahorn brought up the deck, really liking this card and trying to make good use of it alongside Equivocate in some Elysian color deck. And it works particularly well here. It provides additional keywords for Commando, like using an evolution on a Siraf for flying or endurance. Also makes her trigger Commando. Using endurance on an Enforcer does the same. It also makes Copperhall Elite a lot better. Using the flying on an early Kothon also makes it trigger Commando and so on. It's also a way to make Shelterwing Rider a bit more relevant once it got turned off, because then you at least get like a 1/6 endurance, for example, that can ping the opponent for 1 while blocking most units. And it also synergizes really well with Pacifier, since it is kind of like a weapon, but not a weapon, so it doesn't get blocked by Pacifier. And all in all, I've been really happy with the card. It also happens to be nice against Permafrost and similar stuff. Not the biggest fan of Finest Hour. Ahorn had 4, and I definitely wanted to at least trade 1, because there's no way I'm gonna run a Justice deck with like less than 3 Vanquish, especially if it doesn't have access to, say, Slay. Since the card is just too good and too efficient right now in the game, that I usually want at least 3, because it's better to have a Vanquish in your hand and not face a target rather than facing a big blocker and not having a Vanquish and potentially being stalled out by it. And the card is just has so many targets these days and is so efficient that I want enough of those. Equivocate is also not the same kind of removal. They're just gonna replay their big blocker. But yeah, the thing with Finest Hour is a bit that The card is less tempo efficient and yeah, applies less pressure than say a Permafrost would, because Permafrost you can just lock down the big blocker, attack with everything and they take a lot more damage, while with Finest Hour they block your best guy, then you Finest Hour and they don't take damage from your best guy. And if they have multiple units, they might even have gang blocks that completely invalidate Finest Hour, where Permafrost would open up the board a lot. But Permafrost is really bad against control decks, where Finest Hour actually shines. It counters Torch, Hailstorm, Auric Runehammer, Daisho, that sort of stuff. And it can break Aegis on, say, an Icaria, where Permafrost does nothing at all. So in the end, I stuck with Finest Hour and been reasonably happy with it. I'm not loving the card, but I think it's a good compromise to not flood out on like reactive cards like situational removal. Equivocate is great, it's very flexible, allows the deck to not flood on removal cards while still having pseudo removal and enough interaction. It's also a way to reuse Shelterwing Riders that are turned off, because you can just return it against control and then replay it as a random 4-drop. So that's also pretty helpful use. And yeah, I already said enough about Vanquish. The Force would be a bit much in the main deck with Equivocate, and Finest Hour I think, but 3 is a good number. And Stand Together is situationally awesome, but also pretty clunky and bad when you have a small board or when you're behind. So 3 is the most I would run in a main deck. In a deck with a curve like this, where you don't have a lot of small units, where you can quickly fill the board and even potentially play Stand Together and something else in the same turn, around turn 4 or 5. This deck usually needs still like 6 power to be able to Stand Together plus something else reliably. And yeah, the power base is fairly straightforward. I cut 1 Seek because I wanted 28, not 29, and we decided to go with Diplomatic Seal because the deck mostly functions on Justice, Time, Primal, and only needs the second Primal for Shelterwing, and doesn't need the second Time. And this allows the deck to both curve out better and get the numbers on influence really high while still being on 28 power. Like the deck has 17 time sources, which is a good number for only needing a single time and having 2 cost cards and time. And then we have 18 Primal, which is also a good number for mostly being single Primal and a double Primal 4-drop, and then 20 Justice, which is a comfortable number for the double Justice 3-drops that you want to be able to play on curve, and also the Shelterwing Rider. And yeah, the deck has 12 double Justice 3-drops, so it really needs that second Justice on 3. Otherwise you will often have to skip your 3-drop, which is unacceptable, so Seal helps you get there. While with the plate decks I often only got to like 18 or 19 Justice reasonably well, and they also had 1 power more. And then we have a random assortment of banners and seats, balanced against each other to because they have their own up and down sides in a unit heavy deck like this. And then 4 Crest, because that's the most Crests we can run. If there were more, I might consider shaving some of the banners or seats for additional Crests, but we don't have them, so gotta stick with the 4 Crests of Wisdom. This deck could potentially afford like up to 6 or 8 Crests, possibly, if they were there, since it doesn't really have turn 1 plays and only limited turn 2 plays, and can often play a 3 cost card on 4 plus a depleted power, for example. But yeah, that's the deck. It's been feeling really good and looking really good in the ETS last week. It's a great choice for the current metagame against all these moment decks and other mid-range decks and scream decks, while also doing pretty well against control with all the good units and Aegis and stuff, and being so resilient against the card Hailstorm, which you see around a lot. Alright, as usual, gonna hop into some games, show the deck in action to give you an idea how it plays out and how to pilot it. So stay tuned for the first game coming up next.